The great council chamber of the Voran Empire had stood for 3,000 years. Its walls were made of living crystal that sang when important decisions were made. 12 elder species had built this place together, and they believed they knew everything about the galaxy. They were wrong. High Counselor Tivik stood at the center of the chamber. His body was made of blue crystal, and light moved through him like water. He was very old, even by the standards of his long-lived species. He had seen many things in his life. But the report in front of him made his crystal body flicker with something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. "Show me the images again," he said to the scout commander. The holographic display came to life. It showed a small ship, ugly by Voran standards. The design was rough and practical. There was no beauty in it, no elegance, just function, just purpose. "We found them in the outer spiral arm," the scout commander said. His name was Varix, and his species communicated through color changes in their skin. Right now, his skin was pale yellow, the color of worry. They call themselves humans. They come from a planet called Earth and the biological data. Tivik asked. Varix's skin turned even paler. "That is why I called this emergency meeting, High Counselor." The data appeared on the display. Numbers and charts that made no sense at first. Then the council members began to understand. The crystal walls of the chamber began to hum with their distress. The human body contained acid. Not a little acid, but a strong digestive fluid that could break down almost any organic matter. They breathed oxygen, a gas so reactive that most species used it as a weapon. Their bones were made of calcium and could heal themselves when broken. Their muscles could tear and rebuild stronger than before. "This cannot be correct," said Counselor Mivon, a being of flowing liquid metal. "No intelligent species could evolve on a world that produces such creatures." "The data is correct," Varix replied. "We scanned their ship. We scanned their bodies. They are exactly what the report says they are." High Counselor Tivik raised one crystalline hand, and the chamber fell silent. "Bring them in," he said. The doors opened. 4 humans walked into the chamber. The leader was a female named Yuna. She was not tall by human standards, but she moved with a confidence that made her seem larger. Her black hair was cut short, and her dark eyes looked around the chamber without fear. Behind her walked 3 others. A male named Taiwan, who carried himself like a fighter. A female named Hannah, who looked at everything with scientific curiosity. And a male named Deho, whose hands were rough from years of working with machines. The council members watched them with a mix of fear and fascination. These creatures breathed poison. They had acid in their stomachs. They came from a world where the gravity could crush most species, where the temperature swung from burning hot to freezing cold, where the very water fell from the sky in violent storms, and they were smiling. "Welcome to the Voran Council Chamber," Tivik said, his voice carefully calm. "We have many questions for you." "We expected you would," Yuna replied. Her voice was warm and friendly. It did not match what the council knew about her species. "We have questions too. We have been alone for a very long time. We are happy to meet others alone," Counselor Mivon asked. "You have no other species on your world?" Hannah, the scientist, answered this question. "We have millions of species on Earth, but none of them are intelligent like us." "Well, some come close. Dolphins, elephants, certain birds. But humans are the only ones who built civilization." "How?" Tivik asked. "How did your species survive long enough to build civilization on such a hostile world?" The 4 humans looked at each other. Something passed between them. A shared understanding that the aliens could not read. "We adapted," Yuna said simply. "When things tried to kill us, we found ways to survive. When the cold came, we made fire. When the predators hunted us, we hunted them back. When disease spread through our people, we learned medicine." "Your world," Varix said slowly, "has been classified as a Category 12 death world. The highest rating we have. Nothing should be able to develop intelligence there. The conditions are too harsh." Taewon, the fighter, laughed. It was a strange sound to the aliens. They had no equivalent. "Harsh," he said, Earth is our home. We love it. The mountains, the oceans, the forests. It made us who we are. But the danger, Counselor Mivon pressed, the constant threat to your lives. How did you not destroy yourselves? This question made the humans go quiet. The smiles faded from their faces. Even Yuna, so confident before, looked down at the floor for a moment. We almost did, she said finally. Many times. We fought each other. We damaged our world. We built weapons that could end all life on our planet and came very close to using them. The council chamber hummed with alarm. The crystal walls sang a note of pure terror. You built weapons to destroy your own world? Tivik asked. Yes, Eunice said. She met his eyes without shame. We did. And then we chose not to use them. We stepped back from the edge. We learned. We grew. We are still learning and growing. This is madness, Counselor Mivon said. No sane species would create such things. Perhaps Yuna agreed. But we are here. We survived. We made it to the stars. And now we want to meet our neighbors and live in peace. Tivik studied the human leader for a long moment. His crystal body processed information in ways that other species could not understand. He saw patterns. He saw possibilities. And what he saw in these humans frightened him more than anything in his long life. They were not lying. They genuinely wanted peace. They were friendly and open and curious about the galaxy. But underneath that friendliness was something else. Something forged in the fires of a death world. Something that had looked at extinction again and again and simply refused to die. We will need to discuss this, Tivik said finally. You will be given quarters while we deliberate. Yuna nodded and smiled again. Of course. Take all the time you need. We are patient. As the humans left the chamber, Tivik turned to his fellow counselors. The crystal walls had stopped singing. The chamber was completely silent. They are patient, Tivik repeated softly. A species that fought its way up from a death world, that nearly destroyed itself and survived, that builds world-ending weapons and chooses not to use them. And they are patient. No one had an answer. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Varan Council did not know what to do. The humans had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. 3 months had passed since the humans arrived at the Voran station. In that time, they had been studied, questioned, and watched. But the council had also assigned a team to learn about human history. What they discovered would change everything. Ambassador Sung was a calm man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had spent his whole life studying other cultures on Earth. Now he was teaching Earth's culture to the galaxy. He worked in a large room filled with translation machines and data storage devices. His partner was a Varan historian named Liru, a being made of soft pink light that floated in a containment field. I need to take a break, Liru said one morning. His light had turned a dark purple color, the color of distress. Sung looked up from his work. We have only covered the first 2,000 years of recorded history. Is something wrong? Everything is wrong, Liru replied. Your species is wrong. This history is wrong. I cannot process what I am reading. Song put down his datapad and gave the alien his full attention. He had seen this reaction before. Many times in the past 3 months. Tell me what troubles you, he said gently. You have a word? Liru said. War. We translated it as a conflict, a dispute. We have such things in the galaxy. 2 species disagree over a trade route. They send ships. Sometimes there is fighting. It lasts a few hours, maybe a day. Then it is resolved, as Sung said. We have read about your conflicts. They seem very organized. But your wars, Liru continued, his light pulsing with emotion. They last for years. Sometimes decades. Sometimes 100 years. Your species fights itself. The same species, your own people. You kill millions. Tens of millions. And then you do it again. Sung was quiet for a moment. Yes, he said finally. That is true. Why? Liru asked. How? How does a species survive this? How do you not destroy yourselves completely? We almost did, Sung said. Many times. But we always found a way to stop. To rebuild. To try again. This is not normal, Liru said. This is not how intelligent species behave. You should be extinct. The mathematics say you should be extinct. Sung smiled sadly. The mathematics did not account for human stubbornness. In another part of the station, Dr. Guillen was giving a presentation to a room full of Varan officials. She was a small woman with glasses and a soft voice. But what she was saying made even the bravest Varan want to run away. This is called a nuclear weapon, she said, pointing to the image on the screen. We first built one in 19... It works by splitting atoms. A single bomb can destroy an entire city. The room was silent. Within 20 years, we had enough of these weapons to destroy our entire planet. Multiple times over, we called it mutually assured destruction. If one side used the weapons, the other side would use theirs. Everyone would die? And you built these weapons anyway? One official asked. Yes, Guillen said. Two great powers on our world pointed these weapons at each other for almost 50 years. Several times we came within minutes of launching them. Once, a single man refused to follow orders to fire, and that decision saved our entire species. One man? The official repeated. One man, Guillen confirmed. His name was Stanislav Petrov. He is not famous on Earth. Most humans do not know his name. But he saved everyone. She changed the image on the screen. It showed a planet. Blue and green and beautiful. This is Earth, she said. Our home. We damaged it badly. We burned forests. We poisoned rivers. We filled the air with gases that changed our climate. We killed many species that lived alongside us. We did all of this to our own world. Why are you telling us this? Another official asked. His voice was shaking. Why are you showing us how dangerous you are? Guillen looked at him with steady eyes. Because you need to understand something important. Everything we did to ourselves, every terrible thing in our history, we survived it. We are still here. We learned from our mistakes. We got better. She paused to let her words sink in. Our history is not a warning about what we might do to you. It is proof of what we can endure, what we can overcome, what we can survive. Back in the archive room, Sung was showing Liru images from Earth's past. The historian watched in silence as humans built cities and tore them down. As empires rose and fell, as technology advanced from stone tools to starships, your species changes so fast, Liru said. We have been the same for 100,000 years. You have changed completely in just a few thousand. Change is how we survive, Sung explained. Our world forced us to adapt quickly. Those who could not change died. Those who could change lived to have children. After millions of years, we became very good at changing. The violence, Liru said. It is in everything. Your stories, your games, your art, even your love songs talk about hearts being broken and wounded. Sung nodded. Violence is part of who we are. We cannot deny it. But it is not all we are. We also have love, compassion, sacrifice. We will die for strangers. We will give everything to help someone in need. The same fire that makes us dangerous also makes us caring. I do not understand how both can exist in the same species, Liru admitted. Neither do we sometimes, Sung said with a small laugh. We are a contradiction. We are capable of the worst evil and the greatest good. Often in the same person. Often in the same moment. Liru was quiet for a long time. His light slowly changed from purple back to pink. You are the strangest species I have ever studied, he said finally. Thank you, Sung replied. I think that is a compliment. I do not know what it is, Liru said. But I know one thing. The council is afraid of you. They think your violence makes you a threat. And what do you think? Sung asked Dotly. You considered the question carefully? He had spent 3 months learning about humans. He had seen the darkness in their history, the wars, the genocides, the weapons of mass destruction. But he had also seen something else. He had seen a species that fell down and got back up, that made terrible mistakes and learned from them, that carried the weight of their own dark nature and still reached for the light. I think, Liru said slowly, that the Council is right to be afraid, but not for the reason they believe. They fear what you might do to them, but I fear something else. What? Sung asked. I fear what might happen to anyone who threatens you. Your history shows me something important. When humans decide to fight, they do not stop. They do not surrender. They do not accept defeat. They just keep going until they win, or until nothing is left. Sung did not argue. He could not. It was the truth. We prefer peace, he said simply. We have had enough of war. I believe you, Liru replied. But I also believe that if someone forces you to fight, you will show the galaxy something it has never seen before. In her room that night, Jian wrote a report to the human delegation. She described the fear in the Varan officials' eyes, the horror at what humans had done, the disbelief that they had survived. But she also wrote about something else. A small change she had noticed. Behind the fear, there was something new. Respect. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humans were not just monsters from a death world. They were survivors, adapters, fighters who had beaten their own worst nature, and that was far more terrifying than simple violence, because a species that could defeat itself could defeat anything. The military council of the Varan Empire met in a station far from the main council chamber. This was where they discussed weapons and war. It was a cold place, built for function, not beauty. Today, it was full of nervous admirals and generals from 6 different species. Fleet Admiral Goron stood at the center of the room. He was a massive creature covered in hard scales that could stop most weapons. His species had been warriors for 10,000 years. They were the backbone of the Varan military. Nothing frightened them until now. The human delegation has requested trade access to our space, Goron said. Before we grant this, we must understand their military capabilities. We have demanded a demonstration. Is that wise? Asked General Virix, a tall being with 4 arms and eyes that saw in every direction. We have read the reports. Their history is full of war. Why would we want to see their weapons? Because we need to know, Goron replied. Better to see what they can do in a controlled situation than to be surprised later. The demonstration was set for the next day. A decommissioned Varan warship was placed in neutral space. It was an old ship, but still large and strong. The humans were told to disable it, using their own methods. Captain? Hojun commanded the human destroyer called the Resolve. It was a small ship by Varan standards, barely 1/10 the size of the target. The Varan admirals watched from a safe distance, recording everything. This should be interesting, Admiral Goron said. Their ship is too small for effective energy weapons. They will have to use missiles or kinetic projectiles. He was wrong. The Resolve did not fire a single weapon. Instead, it moved closer to the decommissioned warship. Much closer than any Varan ship would ever go in combat. What are they doing? General Virix asked. Then the airlocks opened. 12 humans in sealed suits launched themselves into space. They carried no visible weapons. They moved with a speed and precision that seemed impossible. In seconds, they had crossed the gap between ships and attached themselves to the hull of the warship. They are boarding the vessel, someone said in disbelief. They are physically boarding it.
Got it.
Inside the warship, the human marines moved like ghosts. Weapons Officer Mira led the team through corridors that were dark and cold. The suits they wore could survive in vacuum, in extreme heat, and freezing cold. The Varan had never designed their ships to resist this kind of attack. Why would they? No one had ever tried to board a ship in combat. Navigation specialist Wujin found the engineering section. He placed a small device on the main power unit. 3 seconds later, the entire ship went dark. On the bridge, another team took control of the command systems. They did not hack the computers. They physically disconnected them and installed their own equipment. The whole operation took 7 minutes. 7 minutes to take a ship that would have required hours to destroy with conventional weapons. Captain, Ojen sent a message to the observation fleet. Target disabled. We have simulated control of all systems. Awaiting further instructions. The Voran Military Council was silent. Admiral Goron stared at the screens with an expression that no one had ever seen on his face before. It took General Virix a moment to recognize it. Fear. Say it again, Goron said quietly. They watched the recording 3 more times. Each time, they noticed new details that made things worse. The way the humans moved in zero gravity, as if they had been born in space. The way they communicated without speaking, using only hand signals. The speed of their decisions. The complete lack of hesitation. They trained for this, Virix said. They have practiced this kind of attack many times, as Goron agreed. This is not new to them. This is standard procedure. Later that day, Admiral Goron met with Captain Hojin in a small conference room. The human captain was a calm man with short gray hair and eyes that had seen many battles. He did not look dangerous. But Goron now knew better. I have questions, Goron said. Expected you would, Hojin replied. Your boarding tactics. How long have humans used this method of combat? Hojin thought for a moment. Since we first started fighting on water, thousands of years ago, when 2 ships met at sea, warriors would climb aboard the enemy vessel and fight hand to hand. We call it boarding. It is one of the oldest forms of naval combat. But this is space, Goron said. The conditions are completely different. The conditions are different, Hojin agreed. The concept is the same. Get close. Get inside. Take control, your Marines, Goron continued. How did they move so quickly? Our recordings show them reaching speeds that should be impossible without propulsion systems. They have small thrusters built into their suits, and they train for years to move in zero gravity. It becomes natural to them. Goron leaned forward. Captain, I need you to be honest with me. What we saw today, was that the full capability of your military? Hojin looked at the Voran admiral for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, but firm. No, that was a training exercise. My Marines were told to hold back. They were not allowed to use lethal force or cause permanent damage to the ship. Hold back? Goron repeated. Admiral, if this had been a real attack, we would have breached your ship in 2 minutes, not 7. We would have killed everyone on board and taken complete control. The ship would be ours, undamaged and ready to use against you. The room was very quiet. You take enemy ships, Goron said slowly. You do not just destroy them. You take them, when possible, yes. A captured ship is a resource. It provides intelligence, technology, supplies. Destroying it wastes all of that. Goron stood up and walked to the window. Outside, stars glittered in the darkness. His species had ruled these stars for 10,000 years. They had fought many wars. They had always won. But they had never faced an enemy like this. In all my years, Goron said, I have never seen combat like what you showed us today. We fight at a distance. Energy weapons. Missiles. We destroy our enemies from far away. The idea of entering an enemy ship, of fighting in their corridors with our own hands. It is considered impossible. Barbaric. Insane. It is effective, Hojin said simply. Yes, it is. Goron turned back to face the human. Captain, I am going to be very direct with you. Your demonstration has frightened me. And I do not frighten easily. The thought of human Marines boarding my ships, fighting my crew at close range, I cannot defend against that. None of my tactics would work. None of my training would apply. Hojin nodded. I understand your concern, Admiral, but I want you to understand something too. We did not come here to conquer you. We did not come here to fight. We came here to make friends. Then why show us this? Goron asked. Why reveal what you can do? Because you asked, Hojin said. And because honesty is more important than fear, we would rather you know what we are capable of and trust us than hide our strength and have you suspect us. Goron studied the human captain. He saw no deception in those steady eyes. No hidden agenda. Just a simple statement of truth. You are a strange species, Goron said finally. So I have been told, Hojen replied with a small smile. That night, Admiral Goron submitted his resignation to the military council. His message was short, after witnessing human combat capabilities. I no longer consider myself fit to command against such an enemy. I recommend immediate diplomatic engagement. We must make these people our allies. The alternative is unthinkable. The council accepted his resignation. They also accepted his recommendation. The humans had shown them something new. Not just a different way to fight, a different way to think about fighting. And that was more dangerous than any weapon, because weapons could be countered. Ideas could not. The distress call came from Kela 7, a mining colony on the outer edge of Voron space. A massive earthquake had collapsed the tunnels where over 2,000 miners were working. They were trapped deep underground, with limited air and no way out. The Voron rescue teams arrived within hours. They brought their best equipment, their most advanced technology, their finest engineers, and they calculated that they had 3 days before the tunnels collapsed completely. They could not reach the miners in 3 days. The rock was too hard. The tunnels were too deep. The conditions were too dangerous. Every plan they made fell short. Every solution they tried failed. After 2 days, the lead rescue coordinator, a Voron named Tellen, sat in his command tent and faced the truth. They were going to watch 2,000 people die. There must be something we can do, said his assistant, a young engineer named Borix. There is nothing, Tellen replied. His voice was flat, defeated. The mathematics do not lie. We cannot reach them in time. We do not have the tools. We do not have the technology. We do not have the strength. That was when the human ship arrived. Ambassador Bo Young was a woman with a round face and warm eyes. She walked into the command tent without waiting for permission. Behind her came Engineer Daeho and a team of human specialists carrying equipment that Tellen had never seen before. We heard your distress call, Bo Young said. We are here to help. You cannot help, Tellen said. The situation is impossible. Our best engineers have already tried everything.
Ow.
Daeho was already studying the tunnel maps. His eyes moved quickly, seeing things that the Voron had missed. After a few minutes, he looked up. The main shaft is blocked. Yes. But there is a natural fault line here. He pointed to a spot on the map. If we drill through at this angle, we can reach a secondary chamber that connects to where the miners are trapped. We considered that, Talon said, the rock is too hard. Our drills would take weeks to cut through it. Your drills. Yes. Ours are different. The human equipment was unloaded within an hour. Tellen watched in amazement as machines he did not understand were assembled and activated. The drills were massive things, covered in strange teeth that glowed with heat. Daeho explained that they were designed for Earth's volcanic regions where the rock was harder than anything found in most of the galaxy. We dig through mountains for fun, Daeho said. This is nothing. The drilling started immediately. The human team worked in shifts, but the shifts never seemed to end. When one group got tired, another took their place. When the machines broke down, they fixed them with whatever they could find. When the rock proved harder than expected, they simply pushed harder. Tellen watched as hours turned into days. On the 3rd day, when his own team would have given up, the humans were still drilling. On the 4th day, when the tunnels should have collapsed, the humans had reinforced them with emergency supports. On the 5th day, when hope was supposed to be gone, the humans kept going. Medical Officer Yunbai was responsible for keeping the human team healthy. It was an impossible job. The workers refused to sleep. They barely ate. They pushed their bodies beyond any reasonable limit. You need to rest, Yunbai told Daeho on the 6th day. He had been awake for over 70 hours. When we reached them, Daeho replied, not before. Your body cannot handle this much stress. You will collapse. Daeho looked at her with eyes that were red from exhaustion, but burning with determination. Then I will collapse after we save them. Not before. Yunbai gave him stimulants. Chemicals that most Voron considered lethal in the doses she was using. But human bodies were different. They could handle things that would kill other species. They could push through barriers that should be unbreakable. On the seventh day, a drill bit broke. It was a critical component, and they did not have a replacement. The Varan rescue coordinator watched the human team discuss the problem. He expected them to give up. The mission was over. Without the drill bit, they could not continue. Instead, Deho grabbed a piece of scrap metal and started cutting it with a hand torch. "What are you doing?" Telon asked. "Making a new drill bit," Deho replied without looking up. "That is impossible. Drill bits must be manufactured in specialized facilities. You cannot make one by hand." Deho looked at him with a tired smile. "Watch me." It took him 4 hours. The new drill bit was ugly and rough. It would only last for a few hours before breaking apart, but it was enough. On the 8th day, something unexpected happened. The tunnel they were drilling through collapsed behind them. For human workers were trapped in the narrow shaft with no way out. Telon expected. Panic, chaos, a rush to escape. Instead, the trapped humans calmly reported their situation and kept drilling. They would reach the miners or die trying. There was no other option in their minds. Rescue teams worked from both directions. The humans in the shaft pushed forward. The humans on the surface dug backward. They would not leave their people behind. They would not abandon anyone. On the 9th day, at hour 217, the drill broke through into the chamber where the miners were trapped. Fresh air rushed into the space where 2,000 Varan had been slowly suffocating. Light appeared in darkness that had lasted over a week, and through the narrow hole came the first human face the miners had ever seen. "Hello," said the human worker, covered in dust and sweat and exhaustion. "We are here to take you home." The rescue took another 12 hours. The humans carried the weakest miners on their backs through tunnels that were barely wide enough to walk through. They worked until their muscles gave out, then kept working anyway. They did not stop until every single miner was safe. 1,847 miners were recovered alive. The others had died in the initial collapse before the rescue could begin. But almost everyone who had been trapped was now free. Talon found Deho sitting against a rock outside the mine entrance. The human engineer could not stand. His body had finally reached its limit. But he was smiling. "How?" Talon asked. "How did you do this?" "Our calculations said it was impossible. The mathematics said you would fail." Deho looked up at the alien with eyes that were almost closed from exhaustion. "We do not care about the mathematics," he said. "We do not care about impossible. When lives are at stake, we do not stop. We do not accept defeat. We just keep going until we win." "But your bodies," Talon said. "Your team pushed themselves to the breaking point. Some of them will need weeks to recover." "Weeks of recovery is better than a lifetime of knowing we did not try hard enough," Deho replied. "We could have stopped. We could have said it was impossible and walked away. But then, we would have to live with that choice forever. We would rather break our bodies than break our promise." "What promise?" Talon asked. Deho closed his eyes. "That we will never give up on someone who needs help. That we will always try. That we will fight until there is nothing left." Talon stood in silence for a long time. He had seen human violence. He had read about their wars. He had watched their military demonstration and felt fear. But this was different. This was the same relentless energy turned towards saving lives instead of ending them. The same impossible determination. The same refusal to accept limits. The Varan had thought humans were dangerous because of their capacity for destruction. They were wrong. Humans were dangerous because of their capacity for everything. When they decided to destroy, nothing could stop them. When they decided to save, nothing could stop them either. That night, Talon sent a message to the Varan Council. The humans are not just warriors. They are something else. Something we do not have a word for. They do not know when to quit. They do not understand the concept of giving up, and they will push themselves beyond any limit for a cause they believe in. I was afraid of them before. I am more afraid now. Not of what they might do to us, but of what they might do for us. If they ever decide that we are worth saving, they will move mountains. They will break themselves against impossible odds, and they will win. That is not a threat. That is a promise." He did not know how right he was. 1 year had passed since the humans first arrived at the Varan Council. In that time, everything had changed. Trade routes were established. Cultural exchanges began. Friendships formed across species lines. The fear that had greeted the humans slowly transformed into something else. Not quite trust, not yet. But the beginning of understanding. Then the old enemy returned. The Kreth swarm had been quiet for 1,000 years. Most species in the galaxy had forgotten they existed. But the Kreth never forgot. They were a collective intelligence, a species that acted as one mind spread across billions of bodies. They consumed worlds. They left nothing behind. The first attack came without warning. 3 colony worlds on the Outer Rim were gone within days. Not conquered. Not occupied, eaten. The Krith consumed everything. People, buildings, soil, water. They left only bare rock. Hi. Counselor Tivik called an emergency meeting of the full council. Every species was present. Every voice was heard. And every voice said the same thing. Run, hide, survive. Cannot defeat them, said Counselor Mivan. 1,000 years ago, we barely survived. We lost 3 entire species in that war. Billions of lives. And we only won because the Kreth went dormant. They are awake now. They are stronger. And we are weaker, the other counselors agreed. The mathematics were clear. The Kreth outnumbered them by factors of millions. Their ships were grown, not built. They could replace losses faster than they could be destroyed. The only option was defensive consolidation. Sacrifice the outer colonies. Pull back to the core worlds. Hope the Kreth would go dormant again before they reached the inner systems. It was a strategy of slow defeat. Everyone knew it. No one had a better idea? Then Commander Eunice stood up. The human delegation had been silent throughout the meeting. Ambassador Sung, Captain Hojen, Dr. Jian, Engineer Deho. All of them had listened without speaking. But now their leader stepped forward, and the room fell quiet. You are thinking like prey, Eunice said. Her voice was calm, but carried to every corner of the chamber. You are calculating losses. Acceptable casualties. Defensive positions? What else can we do? Counselor Mivan asked. The Kreth are too many. We cannot destroy them all, Eunice smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a predator. Yes, you can, she said. You just have not tried hard enough. She placed a data chip on the table. A holographic display appeared, showing a star system far from Varan space. It was red and angry, surrounded by billions of points of light. This is the Kreth homeworld, Eunice said. The center of their collective mind. Every Kreth in the galaxy is connected to this place. It is how they coordinate, how they think, how they exist as one being. We know this, Tivik said. We tried to attack it 1,000 years ago. We lost 17 fleets. The defenses were too strong. Defenses were strong, Yuna agreed. But they were designed to stop the kind of attack you were making. Long-range bombardment. Energy weapons. Missile strikes. You fought like Varan. She pressed a button on the display. The image changed. It showed a different kind of fleet. Smaller ships. Faster ships. Ships that looked nothing like anything in Varan space. We have a different approach, Yuna continued. We do not want to destroy the Kreth homeworld from far away. We want to land on it. Get inside their defenses. Find the heart of their collective mind. And tear it out. The room exploded into noise. Every counselor was talking at once. Disbelief. Horror. Amazement. The very idea of landing on the Kreth homeworld was insane. It was suicide. It was impossible. But the humans did not seem to care about impossible. Captain. Hojen stood next to Commander Yuna. He activated another part of the display. It showed troop movements, ship formations, tactical details that the Varan military had never conceived. Human boarding tactics, he said. Applied on a planetary scale. We do not just enter ships. We enter worlds. We have done it before on Earth, many times. We call it invasion. It is what we do when we decide to win. The losses would be catastrophic, said former Admiral Goron, who had come out of retirement for this meeting. Even if you could land troops, the Kreth would overwhelm them, as Yuna said. Many would die. Perhaps most. But the survivors would keep fighting. They would not stop. They would not surrender. They would push forward until they reached the target or until nothing was left. Why? Tivik asked. Why would your people die for us? You could seal your borders. Let the Kreth come for us first. By yourselves, centuries. Ambassador Sung answered this question. He stood slowly, and his kind eyes looked around the room at every alien face. Because that is not who we are, he said. We have been alone on a hostile world for our entire existence. We fought everything. Our planet. Our predators, ourselves, and we survived because we refused to abandon each other. He paused. The room was completely silent. You are part of each other now, Sung continued. We have lived among you for a year. We have learned your languages. We have eaten your food. We have laughed at your jokes and cried at your tragedies. You are not strangers to us anymore. You are neighbors, friends, family. He looked directly at High Counselor Tivik. And we do not abandon family. The vote took 3 hours. Every species had to agree. Every voice had to be heard. There were arguments, objections, fears that needed to be addressed, but in the end, the vote was unanimous. For the first time in galactic history, the Varan Empire did not just permit a new species to join their alliance. They asked that species for help. They accepted human leadership in the war to come. They put their survival in the hands of the Death World survivors. The combined fleet assembled over the following months. Varan ships with their advanced shields and sensors. Human ships with their brutal efficiency and aggressive designs. 12 species working together, sharing technology, learning from each other. Commander Yuna took over all command of the invasion force. Under her leadership were soldiers from every species in the alliance. They trained together, fought together, learned to trust each other. On the day they launched, Yuna addressed the entire fleet. Today we go to war, she said, not because we want to fight. Not because we enjoy killing, but because there are people behind us who cannot defend themselves. Families, children, worlds full of innocent lives that the Kreth will consume if we do not stop them. She paused, looking at the faces on the screens. Human faces, alien faces, all of them united by a common purpose. We are not fighting for revenge. We are not fighting for conquest. We are fighting because it is right. Because we have the power to protect those who cannot protect themselves. And because that is what good people do. The fleet jumped to faster than light speed. The stars blurred around them. And billions of kilometers away, the Kreth swarm waited. The war would be long. The casualties would be terrible. Many would not return. But the humans were not afraid of terrible odds. They were not afraid of sacrifice. They were not afraid of anything except failing the people who depended on them. In the end, that was what made them different. Not their acid blood or their oxygen breathing or their death world evolution. It was their hearts, their stubbornness, their absolute refusal to give up on anyone for any reason. Ever High Counselor Tivik watched the fleet depart from his crystal chamber. The walls sang a new song now. Not fear, not uncertainty. Something else hope. The humans had come to the galaxy as strangers. They had been feared for their violence, mistrusted for their history, watched with suspicious eyes. But they had proven themselves to be something more, something the galaxy had never seen before. A species that carried both darkness and light in equal measure, that could destroy worlds and save them with the same relentless energy, that would fight to the death for strangers they had never met. They were human, and the galaxy would never be the same. The war against the Kreth lasted 7 years. The humans lost 40% of their invasion force. The Alliance lost ships and soldiers from every species. The Kreth homeworld was a nightmare of blood and fire and sacrifice, but in the end, the humans did what they promised. They found the heart of the Kreth collective. They tore it out, and the swarm fell silent forever. In the aftermath, the galaxy rebuilt. New alliances formed. New friendships grew. and at the center of it all stood humanity. No longer the frightening newcomers from a death world, they were heroes, protectors, family, and they had earned that. It's titled The Only Way They Knew How, by refusing to give up.